The National Working Committee of the All Progressives Congress held emergency meetings on Saturday and Sunday of June.
The party formally adopted Senator Ovia Moagige for the position of Deputy Senate President and Honorable Mohammed Idris Wase as Deputy Speaker. This is sequel to wide consultations with President Muhammadu Buhari, party stakeholders, including APC governors.
You will recall that the party had earlier announced the duo of Senator Ahmed Lawan and Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila as the party's candidates for the position of Senate President and Speaker of House of Representatives, respectively. The federal government has revoked the oil mining licenses of 5 companies and non-oil prospecting license.
The Department of Petroleum Resources said that the revocation was based on a presidential directive to recover debts owed by the companies operating the licenses. Companies affected include Pan Ocean Oil Corporation, OML 98, Allied Energy Resources, Nigeria, OML 120 and 121, Express Petroleum and Gas Company, OML 108, Cavendish Petroleum Nigeria, OML 110, and Summit Oil International, OPL 206. Now, energy editor, New Telegraph newspaper, Adiola Yusuf joins me now for more on this. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast. Exactly. Now, when we talk about revocation of licenses, what does it really entail and what does it imply? Okay,
generally speaking, the federal government is the owner of everything, every resources you can find beneath the soil. All right. And so for any concessionaire, for any company or individual to get access into those assets, they have to be licensed by the federal government. Okay. So in the oil and gas sector, they have principally two things that the government issues through Department of Petroleum Resources. The first one is what we call OPL. That one is us prospecting license. And the second one is OML. That is oil mining lease. Okay. You notice the difference between lease and license. Okay, so they will first of all give them the license to go and prospect for oil. By the time they get discovery in a commercial quantity in that portion acreage, they'll have to go back to the Department of Petroleum Resources to get what is called OML, that is oil mining lease. It's with that lease that they now have the right to go and mine what they have discovered.
But now they had a joint venture with the federal government, and that the royalties they were meant to pay, they haven't been paying, and that is why the government is pushing to revoke their licenses. Isn't that what it is? No, according to reports.
Okay, a clarification has to be made there. What is in operation in government, the contracts, number of contracts that are in operation in Nigerian oil and gas industry is not only joint ventures. What they have particularly on onshore and shallow waters, the oil discovered and mined onshore, on land, and in shallow water is generally what is called joint ventures. Right. But deep offshore, we have PSC, production sharing contract. So they have different types of contracts they sign. But it's not even at that level we are talking about. Be it joint venture, be it PSC, those two requirements are very, very important.
So at what level is this revocation now?
Okay, what happened is from these 6 assets now, 1 OPL is revoked, 5 OMLs are revoked. Okay, so the OPL is at the stage of prospecting for oil. Okay, and the OML, they have gone past the stage of prospecting for oil. They have actually discovered oil. They have gone back to the Department of Petroleum Resources to get the lease to mine.
So why is the government revocating their licenses?
Okay, because at every stage of this, let me call it transactions, there are dues that are to be paid. You understand? Like I said when I was opening this issue, the government is the owner. What those people have come to do is to get contracts from government. So naturally, like you are giving a rent, I mean, like you are giving your apartment to someone, there is a rent to be paid. So there are numbers of dues that are to be paid. But for years, what the Department of Petroleum Resources said gave us reasons for revoking those leases and licenses was that they are yet to pay their legacy debts. You understand? So they are supposed to. I mean, they are supposed to have paid some dues, which they didn't pay. So naturally, this is a matter of law. Before they go into, before they were giving those leases and licenses, there are agreements signed. You understand? So, and up till now, none of them.
So, are there implications to this?
Of course, of course. The implication simply is can be looked at from two perspectives: from the perspective of the government, from perspective of those concessionaires. From government, you could see it's not something that the government just did abruptly.
All right.
There has been an announcement. Even before the announcement that this will be done, I could remember, I could recall it very well.
We have no more time, so
Okay.
we have to let you go now. That was why I said quickly if you could just cap it up. But then, thank you, Adeola Yusuf, for your time on TVC Breakfast.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
The government has revoked the oil mining licenses of 5 companies and 1 oil prospecting license.
The Department of Petroleum Resources said that the revocation was based on a presidential directive to recover legacy debts owed by the companies operating the licenses. Companies affected include Pan Ocean Oil Corporation, Allied Energy Resources Nigeria, Express Petroleum and Gas Company, Cavendish Petroleum Nigeria, and Summit Oil International. Energy editor, New Telegraph newspaper, Adeola Yusuf, joins me now to give a perspective on this. It's good to have you this morning, Adeola. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
All right, now make us understand. When it comes to the issue of payment of fees, bills, and rates, and all of those kind of leases and so on, it is not even only in the oil and gas sector we have that. In the aviation, there are so many airlines that we had reported that 1 or 2 times that couldn't really keep up with payments and so on. What is really the challenge? If we have to narrow it down to these oil companies, what are their challenges for not paying the necessary dues they owe the government?
Okay, the challenges are individualistic. To one, it's maybe different to the other. But generally speaking, if I want to aggregate the challenges, the first one is funding. The second one is what they call policy somersault. The third one is, fluctuation in the prices of the commodity, that is oil at the international market. So those are the aggregate of challenges that I've had most of them talk about.
But when it comes to oil seems to be one of the biggest businesses across the world where a whole lot of money is made. And because of the perception around it, a lot of money has been made. Are they not making profit?
Okay, before the profits, there's no doubt about the fact that when you invest huge amount of money, you expect a huge return on investment. But people don't talk about the investment, the funding first. They talk about...
Which is quite expensive anyway.
Which is quite expensive, yeah. So by the time you expect profit to be huge, you should expect the funding, the investment you are making to be,
But one of the assumption is that before these companies even won the license to do anything, they would have had pedigree, which would have been checked over time, that they have the capacity, they have what it takes, technical, financial capacity to go into the business they went into.
Of course. And if not for that, a lot of them will not even get the OPL, the oil prospecting license in the first place. Okay. So by the time they get the OPL, they use that OPL, the license, to approach lenders to get funds. By the time they are able to get find in commercial quantity, and they are able to secure OML, that is oil mining lease, that is the lease to go and mine, they still go back to the lenders, you understand? So truth of matter is that it's the business of the oil company to explore and produce. It's the business of the lenders to give out money.
All right. Yeah. You mentioned the issue of fluctuation in global oil prices earlier on. Nigeria is hoping to maintain the 2.3 million barrels per day How will this revocation of this license impact the quantity of oil that is being mined and produced in Nigeria?
Of course, definitely it will affect, because out of the six, out of the six this thing that were revoked, companies. we have 5 OMLs. Those are the ones that are ready to be mined, and we have 1 OPL. So definitely, before they were able to get that OML, it shows that they've been able to get fines in those acreages in commercial quantity. So definitely, because of the delay in payment of the legacy debt, you understand. So definitely, it will affect the production, definitely. But in the long run, if they're able to win it back, or the revoked licenses or leases are given to other parties, so of course those ones will produce. So in the long run, it's going to be to the benefit of the country.
But is it likely that there could be some, even though there has been a revocation at this point, but is it likely that there can be some reconciliation and then everything goes back to normal?
Of course, definitely. Before anything, there are contracts that were signed. Even this revocation is based on contracts. And, in contracts, one very interesting part of it is that they have option of first review, sir.
Okay.
Before they can give it to any other person, they will be the one to say we don't want it again. So, provided that clause in their contract they signed, so they have that privilege. So they can be the one to get it back, provided that is in the contract they signed.
All right, we have to leave it here now. Adiola Yusuf, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah.
Right.
The federal government has revoked the oil mining licenses of 5 companies and 1 oil prospecting license.
The Department of Petroleum Resources said that the revocation was based on a presidential directive to recover legacy debts owed by the companies operating the licenses. Companies affected include Pan Ocean Oil Corporation, Allied Energy Resources Nigeria, Express Petroleum and Gas Company, Cavendish Petroleum Nigeria, and Summit Oil International.
Well, energy editor, New Telegraph newspaper, Adiola Yusuf joins me now for more on this. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast. Now, how optimistic are you that the government's plan, of getting its royalties back or monies from these companies will be recovered?
Okay. If I get you right, how optimistic am I?
You are,
okay.
Yes. That this revocation is the way to go.
Of course, government will get it back because those companies have invested a lot. Before getting to this level, they have invested a lot. And it's easier for them to get it and continue from where they stopped than for them to get something afresh. So they will be eager. And like I want everyone at the DPR told us, it's based on contract signed. The revocation is part of conditions. Okay, so
they are aware that there are conditions like this if they don't meet up with what is required of them?
Yes, oil business is a multi-billion-dollar business. So every party is very, very careful. So everything you do, you sign agreement. Everything you do.
As careful as they were, like you have mentioned, how is it that they allowed the debt to get to this point?
Okay, a lot of factors might have been responsible for that. Generally, like company to company or company by company, they have different challenges that they face. But generally speaking, funding is a challenge for the majority of them. Policy somersault is a challenge for some majority of them. And you will know that this oil we are talking about is a commodity traded at the international market. So the time they are signing that agreement, the time they are signing, there is a certain level the crude is selling at the international market. So the time they want to start mining, they would have envisaged that by that time. So if things change in the price of the crude, you will know that definitely it is going to affect them. So a lot of things might have caused the delay in payment of legacy debt. But truth of the matter is that now that the government has taken this step, it is a step to recoup the legacy debts that they are owing the company. And like I want to believe, part of the conditions in the agreement that are usually signed is to give them the option of first review, sir. Before the government can give these leases out to other companies, they will be the first. Those that were holding
their
it
license
before
were
will be the
revoked.
first, you know, to be considered. So,
but then they would have had to pay this monies before.
of course, they will pay it because that is the international practice. They know they will pay it. So.
But does this revocation have any implication on the government or on the part of the companies?
Of course, it does. You know that the government, places its budget on proceeds from crude production, and the budget, the 2019 budget, is in no way different from that. So the government wants to get money from wherever is able to get it legitimately to fund the budget. And you understand that you won't have people being indebted to you and you want to go hungry. So in as much as the government should follow due process in executing that. Up till now, those companies that lost their license and leases, they have not come out to publicly complain that government has wronged them. So it shows that maybe they are game for what is happening.
All right, Adeola Yusuf, thank you for your time on TVC Breakfast.
It's my pleasure.